In this installment of the Testament of Solomon, we really see our hero Solomon put to the test as he faces off against not one, not two, but 7 spirits at the same time, all of which have something to say. Unlike his most recent encounters with the demon Asmodeus and the wind demon Tethras, these 7 entities are at least more akin to talking, and do not appear to threaten Solomon, at least not openly. It is not the first time Solomon faces off against spirits of the female persuasion. We saw him take on the demoness Onoskeles, and he was able to resist her charms as if they were mundane flirtations. However, these 7 female spirits who appear to him in this part of the story are not here to flirt, but instead bring with them their own foreboding sense of danger. Whilst never specifically referred to as demons, they do consider themselves to be goddesses. Solomon tells us from the very get-go, "And there came 7 spirits, females, bound and woven together, fair in appearance, and comely. And I, Solomon, seeing them, questioned them, and said, Who are ye? But they with one accord said with one voice, We are the 33 elements of the cosmic ruler of the darkness." Right away, there is a lot to dissect here, and I'll do my best to be as thorough as possible. We can tell that there are 7 female spirits, those which are bound and woven together, and by this, some scholars have determined them to be 7 sisters. Given how much of a close relationship these demons and spirits seem to have to stars and constellations in this story, it's been theorized that these 7 sisters are the Pleiades, that which is an open star cluster in the northwest constellation of Taurus, which also has the name 7 Sisters. God actually makes reference to Pleiades in the book of Job, where he chastises Job by asking him, "Can you bind the chains of Pleiades?" Whether God is referring to the constellation itself, or the 7 sisters featured here in the Testament of Solomon, is not known. Furthermore, we understand from both Jewish and Babylonian folklore that evil spirits are often bound in 7s. So it makes sense that these entities appear to Solomon in a group of 7. Another idea is that the sisters here represent the 7 other planets in our solar system. They then begin to introduce themselves one by one. The first is named Deception. The second is named Strife. The third is named Clothode, meaning battle. The fourth is named Jealousy. The 5th is named Power. The 6th is named Error. And the 7th declares that she is the worst of all, but does not reveal her name. She also states, "Our stars are in heaven, 7 stars humble in sheen, and all together, and we are called, as it were, goddesses. We change our place all and together we live, sometimes in Lydia, sometimes in Olympus, sometimes in a great mountain." Here we learn that each one of these 7 sisters seems to represent something akin to the 7 deadly sins, though not quite. They represent something of man's worst attributes, including his ability to deceive, the strife he might cause or endure, his effect on the environment through his battles and wars, the pain his jealousy causes, the power which drives him mad, and the error which he commits when he sins. All in all, these sisters stand for all of our worst qualities, and evidently, they are not the sort of beings who a righteous person would choose to associate with. Furthermore, we get a glimpse at their arrogance, that they declare that they have stars in heaven, or again, the same implication that other demons have made, in that they believe they have a place in heaven, or had originated there. They even refer to themselves as goddesses, thus putting themselves on the same level as God. If we've learned anything from Lucifer, of course, we know that these sort of ambitions are not met with the kindest consequences. They also tell Solomon that they are quite mobile spirits in that they get around, sometimes to be found in Lydia and sometimes in Olympus. Once more, we see the authors of the text directly reference elements of Greek mythology, and it could be that these creatures are actually the descendants of the Titan Atlas, who were, would you believe it, called the Pleiades, which, as mentioned earlier, is what the cluster of stars in the Taurus constellation is named after. Interestingly, if we look at one of the tales from the mythology, the sisters actually kill themselves after learning the fate of their father Atlas. But afterwards, Zeus takes pity on them and immortalizes them as stars. By this, it is no wonder they refer to themselves as goddesses, being the descendants of Atlas, of course. It is also no wonder why they refer to Olympus as being their home. Of course, their existence under this idea of them being goddesses of any nature is not compatible with Solomon's god, and so you might say that they're in for a rude awakening if they think they're going to get away with this sort of heresy. After all, we've seen Solomon's god dish out punishments for far less. Solomon begins to question each spirit, and they tell him which angel it is they fear the most, and which angel it is that has the most power over them. Given that I'm not quite sure how to pronounce many of these, I'll leave them on screen for you to see here. We get a bit of insight into each of these sisters as they individually speak with Solomon. Deception tells him, "I deceive and weave snares here and there. I whet and excite heresies." This is pretty self-explanatory, in that deception lays traps for believers and seeks to ward them off the righteous path, by either tricking them into sin or by appealing to their temptations. Strife tells him that, "I bring timbers, stones, hangers, my weapons on the spot," and we can tell from this that Strife uses the hardest things on earth, such as stones and timbers, as a metaphor for the hard times that believers may find themselves in because of her. She declares that these hard properties are her weapons, and she is not shy of delivering them onto mankind. Clothod, or Battle, tells Solomon that, "I cause the well-behaved to scatter and fall foul of the other," and naturally we learn that she incites within mankind the need to fight, regardless of how mild their temperament can be. Jealousy is yet another who is self-explanatory, as she tells Solomon, "I cause men to forget their sobriety and moderation. I pass them and split them into parties, for strife follows me hand in hand. I rend the husband from the sharer of his bed, and children from parents, and brothers from sisters." She seeks here to show Solomon that as jealousy, she can drive a wedge between any relationship, and that as a result of her meddling, strife finds it easier to strike, as she makes the humans suffer for their jealousy. Power declares that, "By power, I raise up tyrants and tear down kings. To all rebels, I furnish power." Again, she is pretty easy to read, given the nature of what power is. She is able to bolster up those who would do her bidding as tyrants, but is also keen to tear down kings, implying that she wants tyranny and wants rulers who will do bad in her name. She is also keen to furnish power within rebels, possibly those that rebel against God, and seek to tear down others for their faith. It is only once we reach Error's moment with Solomon that things get really interesting, for Error gives Solomon something to really think about. She tells him, "I will make thee to err, as I have before made thee to err, when I cause thee to slay thy own brother. I will lead you into error, so as to pry into graves, and teach them that dig, and I lead errant souls away from all piety, and many other evil traits are mine." Here we see Error take responsibility for the death of Solomon's brother Adonijah, who Solomon had killed in a dispute for rulership in the Bible's Book of Kings. It certainly positions Error in a position of power over Solomon, in that it is implied that she had already manipulated him once before, much as she manipulates every man to make grievous mistakes. It would also imply that Solomon was wrong to kill his brother, and that perhaps he'd mistaken his brother's intentions to take the throne for himself. Here, Error plants the seed of doubt in Solomon's mind, and she might very well be the only spirit of the seven sisters who gets him to second guess himself, She also tells him that she will lead him to make error again, and that she will also do this to many other men, for that is her duty. The seventh spirit, this elusive and unnamed one who declares herself as the worst, also has her turn and says, "I am the worst, and I make thee worse off than thou wast, because I will impose the bonds of Artemis. But the locust will set me free, for by means thereof is fated that thou shalt achieve my desire. For if one were wise, he would not turn his steps towards me." Here we see the seventh spirit threaten Solomon that she will make him worse off than what he was before, and that she will impose the bonds of Artemis. Whilst this isn't explained in the text, it is possible that the seventh spirit is referring to the mythology, whereby Artemis turns men into animals, like she does with the hunter Actaeon, who stumbles upon her bathing naked. Artemis turns this innocent hunter into a stag, and sets Actaeon's own dogs upon him in vengeance. The seventh spirit may mean this in a metaphorical sense, in that she turns men into animals, or that she warps their minds until they appear more beast than human, and thus more prone to violence and savagery. Of course, this is just one unsubstantiated idea. It is the second part of her declaration that is of more interest to us, in that she says the locust will set her free, for it is fated that Solomon will achieve her desire. Without giving too much away, we do see Solomon sacrificing 5 locusts to foreign gods at the end of the Testament, as he turns against God in an effort to sleep with a pagan woman. It could be that this event is foreshadowed here by the seventh spirit, who ultimately gets her way by Solomon's sacrifice, as he strays off the righteous path. Because he uses locusts to do this, the locusts in effect are what brings about her victory. But of course, Solomon does not know this yet. She also warns that wise men would not even try to mess with her, for if they do, they will meet terrible fates. Given the wisdom of Solomon, it just goes to show how formidable the seventh spirit is, for not even he is able to defeat her in the end. But like I said, Solomon is not aware of her power this early on in the story. You might even say he underestimates her, given that he proceeds to seal them all with the ring and forces them to dig the foundations of the temple. He tells us, "So I, Solomon, having heard and wondered, sealed them with my ring, and since they were so considerable, I bade them to dig the foundations of the temple of God. For the length of it was 250 cubits, and I bade them to be industrious, and with one murmur of joint protest, they began to perform the tasks enjoined." The Greek influence certainly shines through quite strongly in this part of the story, and as a result of this, we are treated to some pretty compelling demons that don't see the light of day in the Bible. It is why the Testament of Solomon is such a fun and insightful read, for it doesn't just provide us with the metaphorical demons and conceptual ideas, but instead the very real manifestations of some terribly fearsome and creative characters that not only test Solomon, but gives us a sense of how vast the landscape of hell could be, in that these sorts of beings are lurking there. If you're enjoying this series, then do let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon to stay notified. Remember to give this video a big thumbs up if you found it interesting, as this really helps the channel get seen, and be sure to share with your friends. In the next video, we'll be looking at Solomon's encounter with a demon named Envy, a most peculiar being who, some might say, loses his head a little. Till the next time, folks.